Okay, so what I want you to do is to bring some of your storyboards into Premiere and edit them on a timeline to create an animatic. So an animatic is really just like storyboards on a timeline, a sort of pre-visualization of your edit. And it's important to use audio in that process. So in here I've got, in my animatic folder, I've got some audio, a couple of audio tracks. I've got some PDFs of my storyboards just drawn up on Procreate. I've got my screen grabs of those storyboards. They're all different sizes. I don't really care. I'm just going to dump them all into a timeline on Premiere and cut them to music. And in here I've got my Premiere project, PP, I've just called it. And I'm going to save my Premiere project in there. So in Premiere, I'm going to go File, New Project. And I'm going to call this Animatic 1. And I'm going to browse that project so it exists inside Animatic Exercise Premiere Pro, just in there. And say OK to that. Now it's going to ask me when I'm going to need to make a new sequence, and it's going to ask me what size do I want this sequence to be. Doesn't really matter too much, but think about what your final project is going to be. If it's going to be square, then make the animatic square, obviously. I'm just going to do 1920 by 1080. So in my project window, I'm going to go New Item Sequence, New Sequence, or I could go File, New Sequence, or just Command N, same thing. So I'm making a new sequence. I'm going to go for this setting here, 1080p, 24 frames a second. There's a few versions of that in these presets. As long as you're 1080p, you can see in here it's 1920 by 1080. My pixel aspect ratio is square. I'm happy to help anyone with this if they want to check any settings, but just I recommend that one if you're going for an HD final output. Now I'm going to just import. So to import, I double click in the project window, or I can go File, Import, or Command I. In my animatic, I'm going to bring in my folder of screen grabs here. I'm just use screen grabs just to demonstrate that you don't need to have high resolution or particularly fancy looking images for your animatic. They just need to tell the story. And I'm going to import again, File, Import, or Command I. And this time I'm going to bring in my audio folder. Brings in the whole folder. I'm going to use this track here. I just drag it down here to the audio channel. You see there's V1, 2, and 3, and A, 2, 3, and 4. A1, 2, 3, 4. A for audio, V for video. So drag your audio into one of the video channels and then start dragging your screen grabs. You can double click on them and they'll open in a what's called a source monitor. I can just move that one over there. So I've got two monitors running now. I've got a source monitor and a program monitor. The program monitor is my timeline. The source monitor is the media I am referencing in the timeline. So in here I could set the duration, or I can just drag it down here. I can also set the duration down here. I can skip that step entirely by just grabbing this shot here and dumping it on the timeline, dragging it out. I'm just using the move tool right now to do everything. Obviously, let's just get them all down there on the timeline. And then I want you to cut them in time. Oh, just going to do that. You can drag multiple clips at once. Now, the main point of this whole animatic exercise is for you to work on timing and to get the project, to get a first look at the timings of your project. So now here in my program monitor, I am referencing the shots I have on my timeline here. So let's just play it through. So I can bring in here, start my audio a bit later. And it's really good to cut on beats. So if I zoom in here, I can expand my audio clip over here. And I can see the waveform. So it's really great for me to, just going to find a beat somewhere here, over here maybe. So that beat there, it might be something I want to cut on, right? So I know I can see it right there in my waveform. So that could be a good spot for a cut, depending on the style that you're working in. But this is where you really work on it in terms of rhythm. Now if I wanted to scale this shot within the timeline, I go here and then I want to go to Effects Controls, bring that window over here. Now in Effects Controls, I'm just going to scale that shot up so that it more or less fills my screen. I can move it in X and Y. Probably get better to look at your stuff like that. You can copy that from one shot to the other by going copy and then selecting this one, going right click, paste attributes. I'm just going to paste the motion attributes. You can see up here it's motion that I changed. By motion it means scale and position attributes. You might still have to do a bit of tweaking, but see now I'm sort of cutting the whole timeline. So I want you to do that for your full 30 to 40 seconds. And this can be a work in progress. This can be something that hopefully you work on over the coming weeks and we really refine it. Your first version will not be the version. Just remember that. I really want you to refine it and continue to draw shots and work on ideas. And as we develop our skills in After Effects, you can really get something with great timing, with great, really well edited, as well as with good motion graphics.